Nessa girl, it's Wednesday. And you know what I'm starting to love about Wednesday? Because nothing comes on TV on Tuesday nights, we get to use Wednesday to talk about kind of whatever we want to talk about, kind of freestyling. And so I got a question for this series of videos that I'm going to do today. I'm probably going to call this series of videos, What's Been Your Experience? And in that, do Dominican people think they better than black people? Now, I know that that's a ridiculous question on the surface, right? And we can't generalize, and every single Dominican person may not think they're better than black people, but for the sake of conversation, we have to talk in generalities. And while I get Jessica, Monica, Veronica might not think they're better than black people, as a collective, do Dominican people in this country think they're better than black people? Now listen, this is not something that's been on my mind for a very long time, nor has it been my experience. But after doing a review on a video last week, Vh1 Beauty Bar, episode 1, a lot of people dropped down in the comment section and kept saying things like, one of the characters on there by the name of V, that V ain't nothing more than one of them racist ass Dominicans in New York that think they better than black people. And a lot of people kept reaffirming that sentiment in the comment box. So it made me ask the question, do Dominican people as a whole think they are better than American black people? To my knowledge, I haven't had a lot of experience with this with Dominican people, but I will say this. Coming from Miami, Florida, it has been my experience that people who I've considered to be black have gone out of their way to differentiate them being black by saying, I'm Haitian, I'm Jamaican, I'm, Trinidadian, I'm Dominican. They made it a point to distance themselves from American blacks. And yes, my experience has been that many people from those Caribbean situations could be black as me or even darker and think they better than. You know what I'm saying? Now, as we're having this conversation, I have to stop and ask, did they truly think that? Or did I come into the situation expecting them to think that every little thing that they did, I attributed to them thinking they're better than? And the reason I asked that question, I have to be honest, I grew up in a slightly bigoted household where I heard adults around me say things like, stay the hell away from them crazy Jamaicans. You see what I'm saying? Stay away from them Haitian people because they do all that voodoo stuff or whatever. My grandmother had it real bad for the Jamaicans. If my grandmother went to the grocery store and let's just say something happened, transpired between her and the woman in front of her at the grocery line, the reason that it happened was not because the woman was a bad woman or because the woman was having a bad day, or hell, because my grandma did something wrong. The reason it happened is because she's an old Jamaican. My grandma had that old Jamaican real bad. So growing up as a kid and listening to someone tell you that this ethnic group of people think that they're better than you walk into the situation defensive. You see what I'm saying? So my upbringing, I came up being, cautious of Jamaican people. And every time a Jamaican person did something that I didn't understand, I defaulted to, oh, they must think they're better than me because they're Jamaican. And now it created this rift and animosity that didn't necessarily have to be. But I'm going to tell you something. My experience and this anecdotal tales that I'm telling y'all, I know for a fact it's echoed and reaffirmed by many of the black people that I know in Miami. So the thing about it is, it has to be a real thing or a real misunderstanding rooted in some real pain and some real truths. I don't know, and I'm not well versed enough in it to speak so absolutely, but I will say this. I have had experiences in life where I have felt belittled or treated less than by people of Caribbean descent who are either my skin color or darker. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's ignorant. But, you know, one thing that gets me about black people as a collective is that we are so conditioned to calling out racism in other people, and we are so conditioned to a degree in just by default running to, oh, it's because I'm black, that we never take a chance to sit down and explore how we exhibit the same behaviors sometimes. And I don't know if it's because our narrative in this country is that we're the poor defenseless slaves that came up through the civil rights movement who nobody treats right. So we feel like we have the first right of refusal to that narrative. But we do the same things. We do the same things because, in all honesty, the generalizations that my grandmother and other people in my family did as it related to Haitians, Jamaicans, and other people of island descent is the same exact thing that they're doing it to us. And not only did my grandmother do it, in most southern black spaces that I occupied, that was the sentiment. Stay away from them Jamaicans. Them Jamaicans crazy. Them Jamaicans think they better than. You know what I'm saying? Them Haitians crazy. They poor. They raggedy. Like, that wasn't just unique to my grandmother and my mom, you know, in certain instances. That was unique to most black spaces that I occupied growing up. And if it was not for me going away to college, I probably would still think a lot of those things that were put into me. Now, I will say this. Going away to college and getting out in the world, it's made me realize that I cannot judge an entire group of people and lump them all in one basket. It has given me enough, you know, knowledge to know that I can't do that. However, for the sake of being politically correct, I'm not about to sit here and pretend like there are not ounces of truth to it. Again, I have not experienced all Jamaican people. I have not experienced all Dominican people. I have not experienced all Caribbean and or other island people. But I've experienced enough to know that, yeah, there is a problem. There is some elitism in there. There is this thing that people from Caribbean islands do, that they, you know, for whatever reason in America, they do not want to identify as black. And in their minds, I think that a large percentage of them are indoctrinated to believe that they are a notch above American blacks. And here's the thing that I want to point out. While it is all right to love where you're from, to associate with people who have similar backgrounds, who are from the same place, to celebrate culture and tradition amongst your small ethnic group. In America, we all black, we all niggas, and every other negative whatever, bitch, you ain't no, listen, I have never heard a racist white person call two people the same shade or even lighter, that's a nigga and that's a Dominican. That's a nigga and that's a Jamaican. That's a nigga and that's a Haitian. Bitch, we all niggas to the outer world. So I think once we figure that out and stop subdividing ourselves so much, the world will be a better place. But I will say this, I'm not gonna sit up here and on my ploy for us to kumbaya and we are the world say that the shit don't exist. And I don't know where the problem starts. I don't know who's got it worse. You know, I'm just gonna be real here, y'all. I do think people of Caribbean and island descent have that shit worse than American black people. I do. But I have to be honest in saying that my opinion is biased because I'm an American black person and I'm approaching this from a place of defensiveness. That, yeah, y'all hoes think y'all better than us and why? Now, you know, here has been another experience of mine. It has been my experience, especially again, and I understand that Miami is a unique place because Miami, in my opinion, no longer has any homogeneous black people, okay? Everybody in Miami is mixed with something. You're either Bahamian, you Jamaican, you Haitian, you Dominican, you this, but there is no longer a huge population of homogeneous black people. From what I hear, they all migrated up to Fort Lauderdale. We'll talk about that at a later date. My experience with my Jamaican friends, particularly my lighter skinned Jamaican friends, what I didn't know was called Coolie Jamaican. Like I didn't know what a Coolie Jamaican was until I got to college and ran into a lot of them. But you know, my ignorant ass thought it was all Puerto Rican, to be honest. But nonetheless, my experience has been with my Jamaican friends, my lighter skinned Jamaican friends, and even the darker skinned ones, that they're not allowed to bring dark skinned people home. Like I had a lot of friend girls who had dark-skinned American black boyfriends in college, and when it was time to go home at the end of the semester, they, you know, let it be known, and they may not have confided that in their boyfriends, but they confided it in me and other homegirls that would sit around the table, that bringing home a dark-skinned black man was unacceptable in their family. So what did it do for someone like me who is a dark-skinned black man? It made me say that those types of experiences and conversations reinforced some of the things that were already put in me, that these group of people think that they're better than you. And you know, all of this, y'all, is a result. Let me stop this damn stove. All of this are the after effects of colonialism. You know what I'm saying? And let's not pretend like in this country, color isn't currency. So while I don't agree with it, and while I don't accept it, and while I want it to end, I understand how it came about and why it still exists. I do. And it's just sad. What has been y'all experience? And you know, when I went to Florida State University, got my degree in economics, they didn't teach me nothing about race and politics, and I may not have all the technical groupings of where to put these different nuanced thoughts, you know, when it comes to race, gender, colorism, I may not be able to eloquently right now put everything in its right box or whatever, but the underlying issue of it all is still, you know, racism, self-hate, colonialism, vestiges of slavery. We get all of that. Let's have a conversation. Do Dominican people and other island people, Caribbean nation, island, municipality people, think they are better than American blacks? That's number one. Number two, what has been your experience with black people of island and Caribbean descent? Number three, do you find that, you know, island Caribbean people, lighter skinned Caribbean island people, has your experience been one of acceptance and we are all one, or has it been one of division and they think that they're better than? Just your experience. And island people, people of Caribbean descent, I really want y'all to be active in the comments, and let's just tell some truths. Like, listen, it don't make us bad people for spraying our grandparents and our parents for their ignorance, okay? Tell the truth. Did people in your household tell you that you were better than American black people? Is that an undercurrent that flows within y'all's, you know, culture? Or are we American black people just tripping and crazy and paranoid? Let's really talk about this, y'all. Y'all drop into the comments. We're going to do some more videos like this today because I got nothing but time and nothing to do. And I got another good one I want to talk to y'all. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like these conversations, and let's get to it. Call you later, girl. Bye.